morning, everybody. So today we are out here in the garden this morning. I had went around the garden and got out the bigger rocks from when the garden was tilled last week. And my main goal this morning that I would like to get done is putting down our woven weed fabric. The ground right now from the tilling is so nice and fluffy. I even kind of felt bad walking on the garden to pick up the rocks because I even just sank a little bit. It is very fluffy. He got down really good. Super impressed. Love how the garden is looking so far. So I want to go ahead and do that. I would like to get potatoes planted, but I don't believe I'll be able to have time this morning to do so. It may have to be an after work project. But I am kind of debating how I want to do my potatoes this year too. Either way, I'm going to have them on the outside of the garden. And with the weed fabric, last year we had the potatoes planted and then we added compost straw as it kind of grew up. And it worked out really great. This year, because the garden looks so amazing, I don't know if I want to just plant the potatoes in the ground or not. But either way, if I lay down the woven weed fabric and I decide that I do want to plant them in the ground, I can always roll up that fabric all the way until the end of the potatoes and then just plant in the ground. So either way, I have a little bit of thinking to do with that, but we got to go ahead and get this woven weed fabric down. So I did end up getting more stakes. I did have a bag of stakes that we had from last year, but we used that up by the barn because we did put fabric down up there, and I just reused those stakes, which is fine. I did find that I do like these ones better. I don't know what gauge they are. I can go ahead and try to find them and link them in the bottom. I think I got these from either Walmart or Amazon, but I do like these heavy duty ones better. They seem to stick in the ground more. They're more heavy duty. It holds up a little bit more towards the wind. We did have some of these last year, but we also had the really small, shorter stakes that weren't as thick around it, and I did notice that those weren't able to be as reused this year as these heavy duty ones. So I believe this is a 100 pack, so hopefully it is enough to go around everything. If not, I can always grab some more. So let's get started. Trying to figure out what this was last year. I think this was my pepper area. I had peppers, beans, so forth. The one thing that I did find that I do really like this fabric, don't get me wrong, but one thing that I kind of dislike about it too is year to year I feel like your planting style changes and what you want to plant. And with the woven weed fabric, you have all these holes that you initially started with, and then the next year you're like, well, what if I'm not going to plant the same thing that I planted last year? So you either have to add more holes, wish that those holes weren't there so nothing came up. So there's pros and cons with it, but overall it's definitely worth it. Okay, so I think that may work. I think I may leave this one just right here because there is like 3 very separated holes down at the bottom. And at the back end I want to do my pumpkins, so I think that would be perfect. So at least with this one, I'm going to go ahead and get tacked down because it is starting to get a little windy and I don't want everything flying again. So we can start this here, I think. Let me grab my stakes. Alright, so I got my stakes and my mallet. Okay, so what I think I'm going to do is when I'm hammering down, I am going to put 1 stake, maybe like a few down on this other side. And then when I put the next fabric down, I'm going to kind of overlap it. So I don't want to put those stakes in the ground really hard yet, because I'm going to pull them back up, put the other weed fabric overlapping, and then use the stake for those 2. So, all right, let's keep going. And I'm also going to try to use the same holes that were there from last year. To not make any more holes than we already have. Another thing that I did learn last year as well, when I was trying to put this down at first, I wanted everything super, super tight, tidy looking, and that didn't end up working out so well. So what would happen is, because the ground is a little bit, not perfectly flat, a little bit uneven here and there, when I would walk on it, it would also like pull on it as well. So what you want to try to do is kind of keep it nice and tidy a little bit, but also keep it a little loose. So that way when you walk on it, you're not ripping or pulling, especially if you have like a plant rock. If you have a plant in here and this is super tight and you go to walk on it, it could pull it, and then it can also push on your plant as well. And you don't want that. So you kind of want it loose enough where when you do walk on it, this fabric isn't going to move back and forth so much that it's going to do any damage to your plant. So lesson learned from the other year, I did have to take some of it back up and redo it again, but that's okay. You guys are a little crooked. Sorry about that. That's what happens when you're on uneven ground. All right, so we got the first one down. Show you what it looks like. All right. This is looking great. All right, so guess let's keep going. Told you guys it was windy. Okay, so it is a couple days later, and as you can see, I've gotten all the woven weed fabric down. I actually came out here this evening and these two at the end were completely blown over. So I guess that's the flip side of having really nice fluffy soil, is that trying to get those stakes in the ground and actually really stick really good poses a little bit of a challenge. So as far as the potatoes and what I decided for that, and that's something that I'm hoping to be able to plant out tomorrow morning, is I do think that I am going to do this big section here. What I did think about earlier with where I'm going to plant my potatoes is these guys. And the big one with the big horns, wherever he is, over here, his horns make it so he isn't able to fit his head through the spacing of the fence here. These spacings. But these two can definitely fit their heads through there. So my understanding, and from what if I remember correctly from last year, is that potato plants are poisonous to animals. So I want to make sure that when I'm planting here, it's going to grow and spread out. The leaves and everything are going to spread out. But having enough room so that if these guys fit their heads through, like this little guy, you can see he's trying to put his head on the other side. That if they do put their heads through, that they won't be able to eat the potato plants. So I think if I do start actually kind of understanding the start of this side of the woven weed fabric, starting here planting potatoes and then going over and that way, I think that'll be plenty enough room for those potatoes to grow and spread and add more compost and everything to it, and these guys won't be able to get their heads through and eat the potato plants. So I think that is about going to do it. I am very happy. I'm very glad to be able to have this all done. I am excited to be able to start planting this garden. The temperatures at night are still a little cool, so this coming week what I am going to start doing is I'm going to plant my potatoes, my lettuce, my acorn squash, kind of like the more hardy plants that would be able to withstand a little bit of cooler temperatures. So yeah, this is the start. I can't wait. Where it's midsummer, when everything is just flourishing, coming back out here and showing you guys, obviously along the way, but seeing what a huge difference this is going to be. All right, guys, so thank you so much for helping me get everything set up. I do appreciate it, and I will bring you along when we do our first planting. Like I said, hopefully it'll be potatoes within the next day or so, but we'll see. I hope you have a great night, guys. Bye.